Hey, Luminary, this Pisces new moon, it isn't just another new moon. It is your gateway to transcendence. With 6 planets in Pisces and approaching eclipse season and personal planets shifting direction, this final new moon of the astrological year is asking you to rise above, go beyond, and exceed your expectations. How do you dare to lead when everything is shifting? How do you create impact when logic is so overdone? How do you trust flow when the world tells you to force? This new moon asks you to transcend your leadership because leadership isn't just about mastery or strategy, it's about energy, emotion, and the vision you bring into the world. In this episode, we're going to explore why Pisces leadership matters more than ever, whether or not you have Pisces strong in your chart. I'm going to teach you how to set your new moon intention for ease, flow, and intuitive leadership. And we're going to talk about what this new moon means for your sign and your work. The future isn't yet built, it's intuited into being. Let's dream big and dive in. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for joining me again. There's so many new faces here. And if you're new, welcome to Star Powered. I'm Leslie Tagorda, your host, a multiracial, multifaceted professional musician turned web designer turned astrologer. Astrology helped me overcome an identity crisis by revealing my star-powered strengths. Now I use these strengths to guide healers, entrepreneurs, and changemakers like you in making your mark with ease and impact through astrology. If equitable leadership, making your mark, and astrology are also your jam, please subscribe to this channel and share with an astrology-loving bestie. In the age of Aquarius, we are all leaders. For too long, leadership has been defined too narrowly, but we are shifting into a new paradigm. Too many of us, women, BIPOC, non-binary, queer, young and old, we've been overlooked, underestimated, or told we must conform to someone else's definition of success and leadership. But your natal chart, it tells a different story. Astrobrand 101 is my signature course, and it's not just another astrology class. It's a 5-day live training where you'll decode and liberate the symbols of your natal chart so you can break free from outdated definitions of astrology and leadership and start making a mark in your own way. This is astrology for changemakers, for visionaries, for those ready to lead with purpose. Join me live March 10th through the 14th, 2025. Over 5 days, we'll reveal the inner awakenings and outer expression of astrology and how your chart reflects both who you are and how you're meant to show up. We'll also learn how to decode astrological symbols that blows them out of the water from traditional definitions of good or bad so that you can stop second guessing who you are meant to be. We'll also look at how your astrology chart already holds the map for your leadership and impact without copying, shrinking, or fitting into outdated models. Doors close on March 7th, and this course is only offered live once a year, so don't miss your chance. Head on over to starpowered.com/101 and sign up today. Because of our uncertain financial times, this course is also pay what you can with a suggested price of $147 US. Your leadership is already written in the stars. Let's decode it together. All right, friends, let's talk about the astrology of this Pisces new moon first, because we are at the end of February and March is like one of the biggest months in already this like seismic shift of a year. So I want to talk a little bit about this Pisces new moon and just kind of the overall timeline of astrology. And then we'll dig into the astrology of this Pisces new moon that's informing how we talk about Pisces. After that, I'm going to talk about why it's so important for you to plant your seeds of intention for this Pisces new moon. We'll also be looking at how to reclaim Pisces leadership because, hey, who thinks of putting together Pisces and leadership together? But you know what? Some of the most amazing visionary leaders I've ever met have a lot of Pisces in their charts. And then I'm going to show you how to activate and set your intentions with this Pisces new moon. So let's get into the astrology. This Pisces new moon happens on February 27th at 4:45 p.m. Pacific, 7:45 p.m. Eastern. And oh my gosh, it's right in between some gnarly things. Of course, we have that Pisces pileup that I'll be talking more about in just a little bit. We're also in the middle of our personal planet direction shifts. What do I want to call this? Well, gratefully, we just finished our Mars retrograde. Whew, that was an intense time over the weekend. I was getting into all kinds of fights over the weekend. Well, not all kinds of fights. I was having a lot of conflict with my husband. I was like, not fun at all. But we survived. So Mars is now direct and like going to be crossing over the shadow zone until May 2nd. But we're also in the shadow zone of our upcoming Venus retrograde and our Mercury retrograde. I'm going to be having episodes just about those two planetary retrograde cycles that are coming up. But when we have all of these personal planets that are overlapping and going, shifting direction all at once, I mean, like, I know you're already feeling this. We're feeling this at our core. And just as you think that we got one leg up or like, just kind of starting to relax, oh no, more waves coming after and after and after. And so at this time when we have not only all of these like personal planet retrogrades, we also have our eclipse season happening, that next full moon in Virgo, which I'll have another episode about for our eclipse season. We're already in that portal of eclipse season, where the eclipses are those kinds of times of quantum leaps where we want to exceed our expectations, where we want to be able to manage our emotions because our fears and anxieties of the unknown can run really high. And also, Neptune in March is going to be reaching that critical degree of 29 degrees Pisces before it dips its toes into Aries. And Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. So we've been really kind of feeling Neptune doing its work in its home sign of Pisces. And when it gets into Aries, this is like a whole nother big shift. And so you can imagine, if you're sitting, I grew up in Hawaii. And so we would go to the beach often, and these waves would come, and usually they would come in a set. You have one wave, two waves, three waves. But every once in a while, when the ocean was really like having some fun, these sets would just keep on coming over and over and over and over again. And you're like, when are we going to catch a breath? Because sometimes if you go to certain beaches, you can really get pulled under those waves, and you go through this, what I call the washing machine, where you never know when you're going to feel like you're coming up. You finally come up, take a breath, and another wave comes and gets you. Now, I'm not saying this to make you scared, but I'm saying this is that this is the cosmic energy that is coming over us, and we're going to be experiencing this all the way through 2026. But this is where things are going to get really, really exciting in March with this eclipse season, the Aries eclipse that's going to happen at the end of March, our Virgo eclipse. Oh, it's all the things happening all at once. And so earlier today, I got an email from a lovely client that I've had for a very long time. And she is one of those Pisces brilliant luminaries. She's a well-known author, and she was sharing with me that she was just getting ready to submit her book manuscript. And as she was talking, she signed off her, and her book is definitely going to rile some feathers in our current US administration. But as she signed off, she said, protect your peace. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is the medicine that we all need at this time when there's wave upon wave upon wave coming. How do we protect our peace? How do we protect our breath, especially when we feel those waves coming over us? Because most likely, I'm saying most likely, there are going to be people that are absolutely not safe right now. All of our trans friends, all of our non-binary friends. I've been hearing friends not being, their passports being, applications being denied because they didn't select male or female. I've been reading all of the news about people getting detained by ICE, and I realized there are a lot of unsafe people. But if you are a privileged person, a blessed person that is able to have the time and space to listen to this podcast and to learn about astrology, really keep your wits about you. Learn how to protect your emotions because emotions are going to be running wild and big right now. This current administration wants to create so much chaos, but we have to keep centered. We have to protect our own emotions, our own sanity, our own intuition, because we have to start leading. I hope you can see that in this age that we are in, it's not those people in the administration that are actually the leaders. It's us on the ground who are collecting our communities, that are helping people in need, that are doing work that is really needed by our communities that are here to lead. We are all being called to lead right now. And so really this Pisces new moon is really helping you expand your vision and open up to the definition of transcendence. That's not just a religious word, but to transcend into knowing your visionary leadership, even if you don't have a lot of Pisces in your chart. You might have a lot of Aries in your chart. If you have that Aries rising, all of that Pisces energy is sitting in your 12th house, getting ready, doing all the magical, mysterious, germinating ways, getting ready to sprout forth when we come into all of that Neptune and Saturn moving into Aries. I'm getting well beyond myself, but you can kind of see where there's just so many things going on in the sky. So let's take a look at the astrology of this particular new moon so we can start to discern and make some heads or tails of this Pisces energy. And then I'm going to dive in and talk to you more about how we reclaim Pisces energy in this time of leadership. This again, Pisces new moon happens on February 27th. This chart is cast from San Francisco, so disregard the houses for now. But you can see that we have this big Pisces stellium, also known as a Pisces traffic jam or a Pisces pileup. We have the sun and the moon at 9 degrees of Pisces. Then we have Saturn, Mercury, North Node, and our two connection energies, Neptune and, oh, not Venus. Just throwing Venus in there because she looks like she's connected with all of the other ones. She's not there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 Pisces energies in the sky right now. And so when we think about these different planets, I know the North Node is not a planet. When we think about these planets, I want you to think about them as processes of change. We normally think of Pluto as transformation, but all of these planets want us to change. The sun wants us to change and know our brilliance. The moon wants to move unconsciousness into consciousness, conscious understanding. Saturn wants to turn doubt into mastery. Mercury wants to express and communicate. North Node wants us to stretch into our soul potential. And Neptune wants to turn disillusionment into compassion and flow. And so each of these energies has this ability to say, like, hey, there's these ways that it's not operating so well, also known as shadow parts, the shadow parts of our planetary energies, and wants us to transform them, into their highest potentials. So what does this mean when we have 6 planets in Pisces? Pisces, if you think about it, again, I'll talk more about reclaiming the leadership energy. Pisces is the last zodiac, which means it's the eldest, it's the wisest, it's the most sage. It's also the most vast. Oftentimes we think of Pisces as the endings, but Pisces endings is simply to begin and be reborn again in Aries. And so when we have all of this Pisces energy, this is showing us is that, yes, we are at the precipice of ending something so that we can step into something new, but not just step into something new and like say, okay, we're reborn again, but we're stepping up, we're up leveling on that spiral journey. That spiral journey is like a 3D spiral, like a spiral staircase going up and up and up. And so what has opened up for you? How have you seen that, yeah, the easier way is the better way? How have you noticed that by being more in those relaxed and being in those stages of flow, that you can accomplish more? How have you noticed when you are present and calm and compassionate, that things shift much more easily and go like with extra movement? I know that, especially like raising a child, when I lean into my Pisces compassion, even if I'm really upset at my son or want him to change a behavior, when I come to it with compassion, kindness, ease, my results are always so much better. And when we think about this, a parent to a child, I am a leader to my child. My child looks up to me for direction. He looks up to me to see how we should get things going, how to what how am I a role model to him? And so, for all of us, no matter what your occupation is, no matter if you're a caretaker or a healer or an executive or a business owner, we are all leaders if there are people that are looking up to us, looking to how to get things started, and looking at being a role model for others. Yes, that's why in the age of Aquarius, we are all leaders. And with this Pisces new moon, this is asking us to lean into our compassionate brilliance, our compassionate sensitivity, our openness in flow to give us structure instead of confinement. How can we speak and intuit more than with just our words, but also with our vibes with Mercury and Pisces? And as a collective, how can we all stretch into courageous compassion as a first step in leadership? And of course, Neptune asks us, how can we all see our parts? That every single one of us is a drop in the vast ocean. We all have a part. We are all interconnected. And what impacts me impacts you. What impacts you impacts others. What impacts people who are underrepresented and at the margins of our society also impacts us. So, how can we lead and love and support each other? And so, this Pisces new moon is truly asking us to transcend and bring all of these qualities that we would never think of as traditional leadership to the fore. Now, because we have all of this Pisces energy, we have a couple of other planets that are making a few aspects. Of course, we have Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter is, of course, moving direct now and moving quite quickly in the sky. Jupiter is going to speed through Gemini before splashes into Cancer later on this year. But this is a square. And when we have this kind of square where the sun and the moon are approaching Jupiter, it's like that fourth quarter moon, that last quarter moon, that balsamic moon, where we are losing light. And when we have this kind of aspect to Jupiter here, we are really seeing the gifts. We are seeing the gifts and understanding that our love and our compassion, I'm going to come back to these words over and over again because of Pisces, now has to be intrinsic. And oftentimes, when we have a hard time sharing love and compassion to others, that means that we first need to pour that love and compassion into ourselves. And so I hope that this new moon reminds you to first start with filling your own cup with love and compassion. Maybe you listened to that previous episode that I had with David Bedrick, The Unshaming Way. And if we're having a hard time loving or giving ourselves compassion, then there's going to be a lot of shame intertwined in there. And so I highly recommend going to listen to that episode, The Unshaming Way, because David offers us lots of medicine on how to witness our own shame and get support for that so that we can give ourselves that loving kindness. And so, what has now become intrinsic for you that you can now expand on. Jupiter, of course, wants us to grow and wants us to believe. Maybe Jupiter is saying, hey, can you believe in all of the ways, all of the challenges, and see it all as silver linings as to where you need to go? All your challenges being the gifts and the stepping stones in the evolution of your transcendent leadership. And this new moon is also in quintile, a quintessential relationship to Uranus sitting at 23 degrees of Taurus. Uranus also by the end of later on this year is going to be moving through Taurus into Gemini. Whew, we have lots of those energies. And so when we have a quintile, there is a je ne sais quoi. And with Uranus, there is this idea of unexpected truths, awakenings, revolution. And so, what are you open to revolutionizing? This could also really feel like a foreshadowing to this eclipse season that is coming up because eclipses already have that kind of Uranian energy like, where are we going to shake things up? Where are we going to land? And how can we start to become so certain with ourselves that even like a cat, even if we're jumping off 9 stories, we're going to land on our feet? I'm not suggesting you to jump off 9 stories, but just that kind of metaphor of always landing on your feet. That is that kind of Uranian energy. So again, what kind of surprises are you open and welcome, open to taking? So this new moon is really focused in on this Pisces energy. If you're going to take away anything from this new moon, it's how can you plant in your leadership and in your life more of this Piscean vastness, openness, limitlessness. You cannot contain Pisces. Let's take a look at reclaiming Pisces leadership. Because what Pisces leadership is telling you is that leadership is not about control. Leadership is about being in flow. And when I think about Pisces, especially with all of my clients who have really strong Pisces, sun, moon, rising, midheaven, stellium, Pisces rarely ever sees itself as a leader or is always maybe second guessing or gaslighting themselves as trying to become another type of leader. But I want us to understand that to lead in a Piscean way is one that transcends tradition because Pisces leadership is limitless, intuitive, and infinite. Because Pisces has the power to see. Pisces has the power to create worlds. Pisces is not just simply the weather of emotions, but it's the entire atmosphere where we can shapeshift and move energy around. Pisces leadership is not forceful. It is absolutely sensitive, visionary, intuitive, and deeply connected to the world. Now, no wonder if you have strong Pisces, you might not have seen yourself as a leader because we haven't been taught about this Pisces leadership. Your way is absolutely leadership. Sensitivity is a strategy, and flow is power. Especially more than ever, emotional and empathetic intelligence is so needed. Harvard Business School says emotional intelligence is the strongest predictor of performance. People with high emotional intelligence are more likely to stay calm under pressure, resolve conflict effectively, and respond to coworkers with empathy. I think we could use more Pisces in our lives. When leaders lead with empathy, they can empathize and create understanding, be emotionally secure by learning to self regulate and center their own emotions, and help manage others' big feelings. How valuable is this in today's world? As I mentioned earlier, Pisces leadership is limitless, intuitive, and infinite, where others build within limits and define structures of what already exists. Pisces instead builds new worlds. It's not just a dreamer, it's a world builder. It's not just sensitive, it's compassionate. It's not just creative, it shapes energy, ambience, and atmosphere. When we think of course, like poets or musicians or movie directors, it's easy to see people creating new universes, new worlds, and that being this beautiful artistic expression. But even if your job is more mundane, maybe you are an executive or a business owner or a healer or whatever you're doing, I want you to see that you're building worlds. I knew a coach who was so brilliant at her job because she could pluck people out of their current reality into these dream states where they were able to dream up this future that they wanted to build. I know a CEO who also has strong Pisces who's able to illustrate and paint a vision of the future to her team, to her members, to the people that she's connected with, so that they have a buy-in of what she's trying to create and strategize in the world. And so when you're thinking about your own Pisces energy and integrating this Pisces leadership into your own strengths and your own work, what is this world that you want to build? And how can you see how this world is interconnected with all? Okay, so let's talk about setting your new moon intention. Now, I hope you already understand that this time of the month, that when the sun and the moon meet, it is our cosmic timer, our reminder to get clear on what we want and to be able to ask the universe, our spirit guides, our highest self, our intuition for what we want. Because yes, there is one thing to be in flow, to remember that, to be so focused on our work versus just going with the flow through eternity where you're not like deciding what you want. It's really important to be successful and to be a leader to get clear on what do you want. If you don't know what you want, this is your time to sit down, to get still, to get centered, to get into a flow state, whether that's through journaling or movement or dancing or getting a warm shower. I get in flow in the shower all the time. All of my ideas come downloading. When we're in those states of flow, we can start to ask those questions and get clear on what we want. And that new moon is your time to say, I have a fresh slate to ask for what I want. And so this new moon, you can take a look at where Pisces of 9 degrees, which house contains Pisces of 9 degrees. That's going to show you what area of your life or your business or your work needs a fresh start. So for me, I have my midheaven at Pisces of 10 degrees, this Pisces of 9 degrees, technically in the ninth house. It's activating my midheaven. So for me, I'm going to be setting an intention of my reputation and my business. This is the one that I've really, really been looking for. And so, what about for you? We'll go through the different houses when we take a look at activating your Pisces new moon. So, don't worry, I won't leave you hanging. But setting your intention, especially with a water moon like this, I love embodying water. Remember, water remembers. Water does has the ability to absorb feelings and emotion and the past and memories. And so what you can do, and my favorite rituals of all time, is to take a glass of water. Should have thought about this before. I don't have my glass of water, but I do have a cup of green tea. And as you're getting clear on what you want for your intention, you can write it down in your journal. I love keeping a new moon journal because I like to go back to my journal and say, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Once you have your clarity and of your intention, literally speak your intention to the water. Pisces. If you live by the ocean or you live by a living body of water, like a stream or a lake or a river, tell your intention to the water. Let that running, living water take it with you. If you speak your intention into a glass of water, keep it by your bedside overnight, and in the morning, absorb your intention. It's such a beautiful ritual because you get clarity on what you want. You get into your flow state, decide what you want. You can look at your astrology to give you some insight as to what kind of intention is going to be best for you. You get clear what you want. You use your words to speak it into the universe because your words have power. And then you need to start passing it forward, meaning taking action on your intention. If my new moon intention about and I actually don't know what my new moon intention is yet about, but for example, mine in the 10th house and growing my business, well, what action steps am I going to take to growing my business and to pass it forward? What action steps can I take to help somebody else grow their business? Because remember, the more that we give the things that we want to receive, the more that we will also receive the things that we have given. That's just the way that the world and manifesting works. So once you have your intention, don't just leave it there. Remember to take action on your intention and start passing it forward. The things that you want in your life, give those things away, give those experiences, feelings, and things to those others that need it as well. So let's talk about activating your Pisces new moon according to your rising sign. When I create these new moon activations, I am looking for the degree of the new moon and which house it exists in. And so you might be an Aries rising and have 9 degrees of Pisces in your 12th house. That 9 degrees of Pisces might be in your 11th house. It might be in your 12th house. It truly depends on, what rising sign you are. So again, I'm going to name the rising sign, but if 9 degrees of Pisces doesn't work for you, I'll also have the house that might be activated. Now, if you don't understand what I'm saying, if this goes over the top of your head, that's okay. No shame there. Use your intuition into understanding which resonates best with you. And if you don't want to guess and you want to learn how to find the degree that is being, the house that is being activated by degree, and you don't know how to read your natal chart yet, then Astro Round 101 is for you. So make sure you join me for this once a year live class at starpowered.com/101. Okay, so let's go through these new moon Pisces activations. So if you're an Aries rising or you have 9 degrees of Pisces activating your 12th house, this new moon, I want you to plant the seeds to create courageous compassion in your works, deep restoration. Maybe there's some philanthropy work that you have doing. Maybe there's some healing work and some retreat work that you need to do for yourself. And so creating things with ease, looking at your unfinished business and really deciding, do you need to finish everything? How are you going to make things more easy for you? Because this is a time of deep restoration. If you're a Taurus rising or have this 9 degrees of Pisces in your 11th house, this is your call to create compassionate courage in your work's soul connected communities. So call in your people, put together maybe an outreach program for your platform or your network, bring your friends and community together. If you're a Gemini rising or have 9 degrees of Pisces in your 10th house, like I do, this is ways to create more compassion, courageous compassion, transcendence, flow, whatever you want to build, to plant the seeds of from Pisces leadership into delivering your best spiritual and artistic work in your ultimate mission. So for me, yes, it's about my business, but more so it's about what I'm doing in my business to deliver on my ultimate mission. And so, what is that for you if you're a Gemini rising or have that 10th house activated? If you're a Cancer rising or you have your 9th house being activated with this new moon in Pisces, you are planting the seed in your leadership and your work to expand your purpose, whether it's your brand purpose or your big why, or you want to share your message with the larger world, maybe through publications or your website or starting a new podcast, whatever that might be. What are those seeds that you want to plant so that you can live and walk your purpose with more compassion, ease, and flow? If you're Leo rising or have the eighth house being activated, this is some deep soul level alchemical healing that you're working on. And so, Pisces in the eighth house, you're planting seeds to create deep healing compassion, not just for yourself, but also for others. If you're Virgo rising or have Pisces in your 9 degrees in your seventh house, you are creating an intention for your soul partnerships. These partnerships that are based on compassion, commitment to your dream, bigger, idealistic, vibey soul customers and collaborators. So call in your people. If you're a Libra rising or have your sixth house being activated, this is your call to plant your seeds for compassionate routines. So, flowing routines and business wellness. Yeah, this could look like about setting up some systems in your business or getting on a wellness routine. Anything that is going to help your life be with more flow because you have processes and systems that are helping take all of the pressure off of having to reinvent the wheel all the time. So, this is from my Libra folks. For my Scorpio rising, or if you have Pisces in your fifth house, that 9 degrees of Pisces in your fifth house, this is about having fun, your dreamy creative process, and your passion in your projects. And so, how do you create more of that Piscean compassion, limitlessness, or flow and ease in your fun time, in your passion projects? Because here, for my Scorpio friends, you are here, your Scorpio rising friends, you are here to really experience more pleasure and more bliss and more fun. For my Sagittarius rising friends, or if you have four Pisces of 9 degrees in the fourth house, this is at the base of your chart where you're asking to root into. So you're planting the seeds to give yourself more creative flow, especially when you're thinking about your emotional safe spaces. And so for your emotional safe spaces, I want you to think about your roots, protecting your energy and protecting your emotions. But those roots are not just going deep, they're also going wide because these roots are stabilizing you so that when the winds of change are blowing, you're able to stay fully grounded, which is really important for Sagittarius, who has so many big ideas. So you better have some big roots to hold it all down. For my Capricorn friends, this is about you planting the seeds for courageous, compassionate communications. And so maybe you're working on some marketing messaging. Maybe you're working on finding your voice. Maybe you're working on how to express yourself and your needs. And this is coming from the heart. This is coming from your emotions. This is coming from your intuition, to trust your gut that you have the ability to say things. And if you are a leader and you're saying things, with your Capricorn rising, how can you say them with more kindness and more compassion? And so getting to work on your voice and your communications. For my Aquarius rising friends, or if you have your second house being activated by this 9 degrees of Pisces new moon, this is absolutely about money, money in the bank, the value that you add to the world, and your philanthropic values. Aquarius rising is already about people power. And so, how can you have this people power in your philanthropic values? How can you add more value into your humanitarian efforts that really increase not just your worth and your value, but also increase the money in your bank so that you can have more money to share? And so this is for my Aquarian friends. And lastly, for my Pisces friends, the Pisces rising friends, this is such a big new moon for you because of and season, really truly, because of all of this Pisces energy activating your first house of self-awareness and self-actualization. This is about you and how you are going to plant the seeds for your self-image, putting your best foot out there. Maybe this you're going to be working on your brand identity or your leadership style, or just coming back to basics and truly knowing yourself, because you have evolved, you have grown, you have transcended. So who are you now? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be seen? All right, my Pisces rising friends. Okay. Well, this is a lot of Pisces here. I love Pisces. Of course, I have a strong Pisces brand because I have a Pisces midheaven with my Mercury in Pisces. And today my Mercury in Pisces was fully activated because I had a really hard time finding the words today, although I hope the vibe came through for you. I hope you now see that even though we don't necessarily think as Pisces as that archetype that is a traditional leader, that this is the transcendent leader that we need, the leader that leads with emotional intelligence, intuition, and a vision of the world, an interconnected world that we want to build together. So, as my client reminded me to protect your energy, I offer this to you. Things are going to get pretty exciting in the cosmos. And so let's have fun with it. Let's dive heart first into it to know that we will land on our feet and to be excited and so certain within ourselves because we have protected our energy and know that we will be okay. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Leslie Tagorda. I'd love to hear what your intentions for this Pisces new moon is. Have a beautiful new moon, everyone. Take care. As a human design projector, my energy shines more brightly because of people like you who share my work. If you enjoy this podcast and want to help build a movement of innovative astrology and leadership and spark the intuitive revolution, please rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, or better yet, share this podcast with your change-making besties. We will all shine brighter together as we create the future we want to see.